Just a minute. I made a video this week that had a pretty provocative title, and um, I kind of want to tell the backstory, but I'm not going to go there. Yeah, expressing anger as a woman in public and in a spiritual public settings is pretty hilarious. Like, I'll just say, this is not me like backing up on what I posted because I loved making that video and it was very alive and it's not being held on to, but um, I'm not at war with equanimity. Um, I am not at war with equanimity. I think if you knew me, which maybe some of you do, but most of you don't, um, that might be the word that you would use to describe me. And just the image of myself like lighting gasoline fire and just like burn it down, like to like lighting anger into the world to like destroy something. Like, yeah, that's the kind of fear of letting go of the intelligence of life just being what it is. So yeah, but certainly that either the title or the video both hit a nerve with some people. Some people loved it. That's great. Some people probably hated it. That's great. Some people certainly lashed out at me. That's to be expected. Um, but I just want to call attention to the fact that I'm a human. And maybe that's one of the bigger aspects of my like teachings or pointings or whatever this channel is that like I'm not asking for anybody to fix me. My anger, my disability, my whatever it is that I'm bringing up, like I know not everyone knows me, but I actually like support people and work with people, but I also like I'm a human and much of humanity is not represented in spiritual teachings. Like much of spiritual teachings actually are pointing to stepping out of our humanity, which they need to do. I'm not at war with spiritual teachings either. There's a necessary perspective and broadening out and stillness and silence and behavior change, like practices and certain kinds of spiritual relationships that are, I'm going to sneeze. No, I'm not. So supportive and transformative and certainly have been a part of my path and yoga and like all of that. And posting this video was like, wow, such a reminder of how I've been repressed by spiritual norms and conventions and teachings. That there's a lot of clarity here of like the anger that heartfelt, clear, open anger that like arises to be expressed and certainly like I could have been misinterpreted and that's fine, and I know that there's just a person watching a video without the broader context of how this arose. And um that expression is life expressing itself through. I've had much experience with pushing and trying to be and avoid and create peace and avoid that. And actually, a lot of unearthing needed to happen to even know that I was capable of feeling anger. And there's maybe something misleading about putting a video out that kind of immemorializes something in time. Like, there's that angry lady. I'm not stewing. It's actually like moving through the movements of life without getting stuck. It's like it's very energizing, and the energy just is what it is, and there's a wisdom to it. And sure, like being a woman, being conditioned to be small and not take up space and to caretake for others and to prioritize others over self, you get a lot of like beyond spiritual messages just from school and community and the grocery store, and stories and books and movies, that women should be nice, and men can be loud and angry, like whatever. And I don't even really want to go down this rabbit hole, but I do want to just say that the spiritual side has been one of the sides that really turns the lever down. And the number of comments that I received around in some way repressing or trying to push my expression down by trying to fix it or condescend me or sexualize me or yeah, it doesn't matter. But like that pattern is real. So it's really interesting to see in a video that comes out with that very clear pattern, that's very alive and well, how that maps onto the work that I'm doing with people. And it just continues to clarify where and why people are stuck in certain aspects of identity in the spiritual world. And so this is not me at war with spirituality at all. But I can't not say that that's real, and how subtle it is for the unconscious conditioning to latch onto anything, including like needing to be this spiritual thing or this spiritual person. So there was something that wanted to be said, and let me see if I can find it. Oh, yeah. I think one of the scarier aspects of awakening is letting everything go, going into the free fall, the non-dual free fall of life, and taking that whenever it's time. If it's relevant for you, maybe it's not. Maybe you never were in a spiritual community, but when it is time, if you have that layer of conditioning, to let that fall and to allow the humanity to come back online as if it ever went away, like as if you don't go to the toilet 3 times a day, or as if you don't have thoughts and reactions and fears, and when you're unsafe, the body doesn't clench, or and I wondered too if being a woman, like being feminine, there is an aspect of, and having the mind that I have, which is, I'm not devaluing my mind, but it expresses in its own Chelsea way. That the way that I'm pointing and the way that that awakening happens through me is very relational, like very, not going to give concepts, really. I'm not going to even remember concepts. or anything. Like, I don't even really remember what I said in that video, although I was pissed at the cruelty that's impacting people in my life. But I'm a mom. I'm a therapist. I work. I drive a car. I have a disability. Like, this is a real part of the pointings that come through me. Like, coming into, I have a relationship with a husband. Like, I'm not in a monastery. I don't have anything against a monastery, but those teachings are going to be pointing in a certain way. And I don't think they would even claim that they're above or below, like, clarity as it's being expressed here through me. But when it is expressed in this way, when my humanity is showing, like, when that comes up for me and there's a certain kind of reactivity to it in the response from the outside, like, then that just becomes so reaffirming and clear to me of how I'm supporting people and this other layer of what's holding back from truth. I'm not saying that I have the ultimate key to truth, but there is clarity and realization here when this truth is transmitted, how it is. And there is a lot of work that happens in my communities and in my session rooms that I'm not going to speak someone else's truth, but they're just shared release and relief of life when we are safe to express it exactly as it is, and then it can transform if it wants to, if it can unhook from unnecessary suffering. But part of what's here in our awake humanity is wild and messy and chaotic and